So this video is about instruction using Adobe Premiere and working with audio, specifically with Adobe Premiere for your first project. The reason we're assembling our audio in Adobe Premiere is we will be adding video to it for the second project, and you'll want some flexibility maybe to move around, add or delete sounds as you're working with your video project. So when we set up this Premiere file, it'll be ready and waiting for you for your second project as well. So first we're going to open up Adobe Premiere. So you can go to New Project, or you can do File, New Project. File, New Project. And let's go ahead and title it Lagan, or your name of course. Proj 1, 2. And browse to where you save it. Hit Browse. And this time go to Desktop as a choice and make a new folder on the desktop and call that one Your Name Proj 1, 2 again. Okay, and hit Create. And we're saving it to this folder, and this is very important. You want to put all of your sound files that you record inside this same folder before you import them into Adobe Premiere. The reason is that Adobe Premiere, like a lot of apps, do not embed the sounds in there in the file. They just point to them. So if everything stays in the same folder, it'll know where the sounds are. But if you move your Adobe Premiere file out of your folder and you move to another computer, it won't be able to see the sounds, it won't be able to know where they are, and you won't be able to hear them. So always keep them in the same folder. Put the sounds in the folder with the Premiere file before you import them into Premiere, and just move your whole folder. If you move to another computer, or if you back up to Google Drive or a flash drive, just drag that whole folder in. As long as everything stays in the same folder, the same place in relationship to each other, then you'll be fine. Does that make sense? That's very important. Likewise, do not hand me the Premiere file that we make when we do the critique. You want to hand in the Google Drive folder for the class an MP3 that you export from the Premiere file. If you give me the Premiere file, I will not be able to hear your sounds. I'll show you how to export the audio as an MP3 at the end of this video. Hit Choose and OK. So here's the Adobe Premiere interface. First thing we're going to do is import our files. File, Import. And we're going to go and find the exercise files, and I'm going to select the two folders that are in there. Holding Shift to select both, and I'll hit Import. And now over here, this is where all of your content that goes into your timeline, which will be here in a minute, is stored. Okay? So you can see we have two folders, and now before we have a timeline over here, we have to make a sequence. The reason is Adobe Premiere is used for movie making, and in movie making you're going to have lots of different scenes, and usually every scene has a different sequence, and then you can put all the sequences together to make your final movie. So we're going to make two sequences. Go to File, New, Sequence this time, not Project. And for the video settings, if you have the same thing as I do, the ARRI, click the little triangle next to it, and click the little triangle next to the 1080p, and pick the 1080p 24. Okay, so for this one, let's call this file, this sequence, Exercise. Okay. And here you can see this sequence is one of them available in your project. We're going to make a second one, File, New, Sequence. And let's give this one the more proper title, Lagan, your name really, Project 1, 2. Okay, and again, ARRI, 1080p pixels, 24, which means frames per second, and hit OK. So now we have two sequences. One is the one that you'll use to make your project, and the other one, if you click on that tab, is used for the exercise that we're going to do. Okay? Now make sure the tab is selected and the letters are brighter on Lagan Project 1, 2, your name Project 1, 2 for that one. And we're going to do two things. We're going to go to sequence up at the top, and we're going to add just a bunch of tracks. Okay, add tracks. Because for this particular project, you're going to want a lot of tracks, a multi-track audio, so you can stack things one on top of another and combine sounds that are occurring at the same second. Okay, so where it says add one video track by default, hit 0 for that. Where it says add one audio track, if you put your mouse over it, you'll see it changes, and you can click and hold down and drag to make about 25 tracks. Okay, tracks are free, they don't cost you anything, so we're just going to make way too many. Okay, and that way you'll have them, and hit OK. Then click on this wrench here and go to expand all tracks, and you'll see all the tracks got bigger. Now these tracks under here where it says audio, our audio, everything above this line is video. Okay, so all of our tracks for the first project are going to be audio files, so they always go underneath this line. So I'm going to go over here to the line, and you can see it changes, and then I can click and hold and move up, and that way I have mostly my audio featured. And you can see I'm scrolling down, and you can see all the tracks that are waiting for you to stack stuff into. Okay, so we did something, so hit save. So now click on the exercise file, this sequence. This sequence, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to Sequence, Add Tracks, 0 for video, and about 25 for audio. Okay. Then click on the wrench and choose Expand All Tracks. So you got big tracks. And grab this line and pull it up so you're looking at all the audio tracks. Okay. The reason we're doing two different sequences is now you have this sequence to work on your real project, and this sequence, exercise, which you should be using now to do our practice sequence. So you'll notice the two folders that I imported from our exercise audio files, I put into two different categories. One is whooshy, anything that is kind of like an ongoing field that continues, like a whoosh noise. And then this says short, sharp. That's anything that is, instantaneous, like a snap or a click or a pop or a bang, anything that's short and punctuated. Okay, so those are our two visual themes that we'll be working with. So we want to have a variation of both of those and combine those into an emotional sound collage. And hit save again before we get started with our project. Every time you do something great or good, save or Command S. Every time you're new to something and you're like, what the hell happened? Undo or Command Z until it's back to what you expected. Okay, now I'm finally ready to lay down some audio files and start making our sound collage. Now, the instruction is designed to be efficient. This is not an example of the amount of time that you spend on your own sound collage. It should be a lot more involved and intricate with a lot of subtle nuances. We'll spend 1 to 2 hours on this instruction, and you should probably spend about 16 hours on your project. This is designed to just show you all the tools that you can use and that you'll need for your project. So first thing I'm going to do is click on the whooshy folder, and you can see all these little sound files in here, right? And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on the literal whoosh, and I'm going to listen to it. I went click, click, and up here is where you can audition things for your timeline. Okay, so I haven't placed it in the timeline. I'm just looking at it, and I can edit it here before I even put it in. And then this over here will be your actual timeline. And when video is added in the second project, this is where you'll see the video that's actually in the timeline, actually in the video. Okay, so let's listen to this whoosh. Okay, that's a pretty good whoosh. And I'm going to just drag that whole thing over onto the timeline. And here it is on the first track. Okay. Now we want to see it bigger. There's two ways that we could do that. We can go down to the hand tool over here and instead click on it, hold it down and choose the zoom tool, the magnifying glass that works just like it does in Photoshop. Or we can grab these little handles. This is how you scroll through the timeline. And if you grab these little corners and you pull out, I'm making it smaller, and pull in, and I'm making it larger, okay? So I don't want it to be too large because I want to be able to see enough of how I'm putting stuff together, but I do want to be able to see the sound waves and see how they're matching up, okay? So now I'm going to go to another thing. I'm going to go to the microwave, and I'm going to listen to this. Okay, so I just want to add another texture and make this less just purely whooshy, and I'm dragging the timeline indicator over here, and this is before the little beep. Here you can hear the beep, right? I don't want that in there. I just want the hum. So what I'm going to do is, you see this little mark out. If you leave your mouse over it, mark out, I go click, and then I've edited it so it ends there. So now I want it to start after the beep. So about here, right? And I hit this mark in, click. And now I've edited that, so when I drag that over, it's just that part of the file. Okay? And the black arrow works a lot like it does in Photoshop or Illustrator. You can select things or move them. So I'm moving this over here so it's in its own space in time so we can hear it. And you can hear we just got that little zzz in there, but maybe that'll be an interesting texture. Okay, so I'm going to grab using that black arrow tool, and I'm going to move it over here. And so that way when this starts, it just makes it maybe a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay, give it some substance. Okay, now an easy way to turn down the volume on an individual file, do you see the white line that you see over here? That's at 0 decibels. So I'm going to bring this one down a little bit so you can hear the microwave a little bit more. See how I'm dragging it down, and it has a little thing that says negative. So now I'm at negative like 7, say, and just use your judgment. But now let's see if it's a more even mix. Okay, so now I'm going to go to an electric toothbrush. And I'm going to bring that whole thing over this time. Okay, I'm not even doing an edit over here. I'm bringing down the whole thing. Okay. And I'm going to make it overlap just a tiny bit. And also, I want to show you something else. Okay, how to turn volume down or adjust individual parts. So if you, I'm going to zoom in on this one momentarily. Now I'm taking the pen tool over here, and I'm going to go click on that white line. Okay, and then I'm going to go click over here, and I'm pulling down, and I'm going to make the sound like gradually go up. Okay, and you can make points anywhere you want in here. Like for instance, don't do this, but I'll go point, point, and point, and then I could bring this down so the sound would dip right there if I needed it to. Okay, but I'm going to undo. Okay. Next, I'm going to take this file and go click on Crackle, and let's see what that sounds like. has some scissors there. Okay, so that one I'm going to go ahead and edit, but I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to bring down the crackle so it's like here, and now I'm going to like, okay, and I can tell that ended right here. So this is another way to edit. If I have the black arrow tool again, I can just grab, like let's say I want it to end here where the sound ends. So I can grab the end. Do you see how it changes like that? I can grab the end, I'm clicking, holding down, and I'm just dragging it. So I'm editing it out that way. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Okay. And then maybe I'm going to do the fade in. And maybe this time I'll do a fade in the middle and another one over here so it comes in and out. So let's see what that sounds like. Okay, good enough for now. This is an airplane, like a propeller airplane taking off. Okay, so maybe I'm going to go all the way back. I'm pulling this so I can see the whole thing. Do you see that? I'm pulling the little corner out in the scroll bar. And I'm just going to take the airplane and I'm going to put it all the way over here. And that's pretty long. So this time I'm going to shorten it. I just want it to go. Maybe here. And I'm going to take this razor blade tool. And you see the razor blade? Just like you used to cut film in the old days before there was digital, you actually had to take a razor blade to the film and go click, or audio recordings for that matter. And then I'm selecting this part. See, it's cut in half now, right? Look at that. And then I'm selecting that part and hitting the delete button and it goes away. So that's a third handy way to edit stuff. And sometimes when you get into nitty-gritty after you've already gotten in there, then that's a good way to do it. Okay, so now click back on the main folder up there, and now go to click on the folder that says Short Sharp, and we're going to add an air blast. Click, click. So you can see there's nothing after this, so let's go ahead and do end edit there, right? So now it's just tiny. Okay, and I'm going to bring that over here. And then I'm going to go, there's an explosion in here. There's explosion. Okay, again, that's a pretty small sound. Okay, so that's a good ending. Okay, and I'm dragging it, even though I dragged it into the same track, I'm going to now drag it here. And we're going to adjust the volume, and you would be more careful in adjusting the volume and the mix of each of these things, really, so things sit in the mix a lot better. So we won't take the time to do that right now much, unless it's really, really necessary. But it's something that you'll want to pay a lot of attention to. Okay, now I'm going to go down to this thing that says weird noise. And it is a weird noise. Hold on. Okay, I like that last one, the blink, boom, boom. I have no idea even what that was anymore, but somehow I recorded it in my house. So I'm marking the beginning and the end, so I just have this little part, and then I'm bringing it over. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm using that black arrow tool still, and I'm holding down the Option button, or the Alt button on Windows, Option for Mac, but I'm holding down the Option and I'm clicking and dragging and I'm making a copy, okay? And if you wanted to, you can actually like move the time indicator and have an exact amount of frames for a perfect rhythm, but I'm going to just eyeball it and make them about the same. because we're not making a song, really. We're making something that can move in and out of, the rhythm can change. Okay. And then we'll look for something else to shake up the rhythm and not have that repeat that time. I'm going to go to the alligator over here. Click, click. Okay, and I'm going to just do it that short. Okay. And I'm going to bring it over here. And then I'm grabbing this and having it repeat one more time. Maybe 2 more times. Okay. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so in real life, I would take a lot more time adjusting the sounds, and also if it goes into the red over here like this, then you got to turn it down. Okay, that means it's distorting. And again, the best way to adjust the sound of individual things, and I think I am going to turn down the airplane a little bit. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more variation, okay? I said I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but... Okay, I'm going to take that little sawing, mark that little spot, and I'm going to bring that down so it's here, and I think I'm going to cut the airplane so it suddenly just turns into sawing for a minute. Okay. Okay, so mine's vaguely about anxiety, and you do want to have, you do want to think about the general emotional quality or narrative that you want to be representing, and sometimes it will help to think of something in your own life or a historical happening or a current event or some sort of actual thing happening and how you feel about it in order to kind of create this abstract sound collage representing that in some ways. And I'm going to bring down the electric toothbrush a little bit too. And one other thing, over here where it says M, that's to mute a track if you want to not hear it temporarily. The S is solo if you want to hear only that track to hear what it sounds like. And the lock over here, if you want to lock a track, you can, so nothing moves accidentally. Okay, next, we're going to work on panning the tracks, okay? And we're going to not take as much care as you should because we want to go fast. But generally speaking, you have a stereo field, and you have, if it's panned all the way to the left, that means it's only in your left ear or your left speaker. If it's panned all the way to the right, it's only in the right speaker, right ear, right? And if it's panned, like, say, a little bit to the left, then it's more in the right than the left. And the more you tilt it one way or the other, the more it favors that speaker rather than the other speaker. So when you're mixing audio, panning is a really good tool to be able to give everything its own space in the stereo field. it'll make everything sound better, and it'll make everything feel more complete and clear. So we want to go to Window, Audio Track Mixer. Okay, for exercise. Okay, then here's all of our tracks. Okay, and here's the pan. See that? So if we're taking this first track, and what was the first track? It was. I'll solo it. It's the toothbrush, right? Okay. So maybe some of the whooshiness, like what if I took that toothbrush then and moved it all the way to the left? See what I'm doing there? Okay. And then what's this one? On track 3, maybe I could move track 3 all the way to the right. Okay. And I think I'm going to move this over here and keep that in the middle. Okay? That way this one's going on the right, and this one's going on the left, and this one's going on the right, and they're happening at the same time, and then I have this zigzagging in the middle. Okay? Then, what is this track have in it? For this one, I think what I'm going to do is have that one be maybe a little bit. Okay, so that is track 5. And I'm moving that a little bit to the left. And then I'm going to take track 6, the explosion, and maybe move it a little bit to the right. And then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to select this one, holding down the Shift button and selecting all of these. Select that one and that one. And I'm going to move those. I'm dragging them down. Okay, and the reason is now I can take this track 8. Here it is, track 8. And I can move it a lot this way. Okay, so it's leaning towards the left. And then track 9, where I just moved that one, I'm going to move that one so it's more to the right. So it's going to like kind of tick-tock, right? It's going to boing to the left, then boing to the right, boing to the left, boing to the right. Okay, so it'll vary. So that'll be kind of a theme that we're using for structure as well. So everything is in its own space in the stereo field. So what else do I want to do? So again, I'm going to solo this track, and I'm going to say, which one is this? This is that. And I think I'm going to add an effect to this. Okay, and the way that you add effects, over here, yours might just be on editing, which is fine, but click on effects. So you see effects over here. Now I click over here, and you can see there's audio effects and video effects. So open up the little folder that says audio effects. And let's just go to reverb. And let's go to studio reverb. And I'm clicking and holding down, and I'm dragging it onto this track. Okay. And how do I know it's on that track? If I go click, click like this, then all of a sudden I'm over here. And if I go to this little arrow over here, go to Effect Controls, and I can see that I added Studio Reverb, right? So I could control that if I wanted to with individual parameters. See that little arrow? So I could adjust the amount of echo and how echoey I want it to be. But let's just listen to it out of the box. think I'll try to make it a little more echoey. I'm going to make it too echoey just so you can hear the difference. Okay. So now, let's see. Okay, that general whoosh, I'm soloing it right now, right? So that whoosh, I think I'm going to make that have something different effects-wise also. So let's look at the different kinds of things. Modulation, I'm going to go to flanger. It makes things go like for a better, lack of a better technical term. But I'm going to grab that and I'm going to drag that onto this track. And automatically I'm featuring that. Now let's listen to if it sounds different. Quite a bit different. And again, if you wanted to adjust that individual parameters, if I wanted to take it down a little bit, I could reduce the mix. It's 40%, so I could reduce it a little bit if I thought it was too whooshy. So you can add effects afterwards to give it the kind of texture or feeling that you want and enhance the piece. So again, this is what I have. So we learned how to edit different clips. So we did it in 3 different ways. We clicked over here and did in points and beginning points over here, the mark in and mark out, and then dragged it over. Or we just grabbed the end with that black arrow and dragged it in to where we wanted to stop or begin. Or we used the razor blade tool to chop it off, select the part we don't want, and hit delete. Okay, we zoomed in and out by pulling the little bars down at the bottom. Okay. We placed everything in its own stereo space by panning. And again, window, audio track mixer, window, audio track mixer exercise. And adjusted the pan up here. We adjusted the volume with the little white line. And we applied effects over here by selecting an effect and dragging it right onto the track. And then adjusting it in effects controls. Okay? Now, let's pretend that we did something wonderful there and we have a great audio track. Now we're going to want to export. Again, don't hand me your file. If you hand me your Premiere file, it won't know where to find all of your sounds. It'll be like little question marks instead of sound files, and I won't be able to hear anything. So what you have to do to give it to me as a sound file that I could play or another person could play or you could post on social media, you have to export it. Okay? So File, Export, Media. File, Export, Media. Okay? And make sure that this sequence is selected. If something is weird, just stop and then select this, click on it, and then do it. File, Export, Media. And you should get this export settings window. And whatever this is set out, like QuickTime, we don't want that. We want MP3. MP3, okay? An audio file, okay? Now, title that. I'll do that again so you can see output name. Click. And the output name should be your final file, but it'll be .mp3. So Lagan, just project 1. Okay? It's your sound file, project 1. Lagan Project 1, your name, Project 1. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and save it in the same folder as everything else. Now, we're doing a practice one. Okay? So you will replace this with the one that you actually do, but I just want to get you in the habit of putting your name on the project. Hit save and make sure you're saving it to that folder. Where am I saving it? Look right here. Make sure you're saving it to the right place. Save, and then hit export, and then that'll make it actually export. You'll see a little timeline moving super quickly, and it's done. Okay, so now I can click over here and I can go to my desktop because I saved it to the desktop, and here's my folder I just made, and I should see an MP3. See, so now I can hit play, and there's my file. Okay, and that MP3 file, .mp3, is what you hand me in the Google Drive folder, and that's what we'll listen to for the critique. Okay, so be sure to export at the end, but also be sure to save your proj, your Premiere file, because again, we're going to use the sounds, perhaps with variation, along with the expressive video collage that we create for our next project. Okay? One more thing. This is your exercise file tab, and it's fine to leave that, but go ahead and click on the other one, Lagan Project 1, 2. And this is where you're going to make your own project. Okay? So that's it. Just give me some good, interesting projects involving expressive audio.